Mech Warriors, Mech Commanders, and that other weird part of YouTube, it is I, Project Dark Fox, with another miniature painting video. Today, we're going to skip forward in time a little bit with an instant classic from House Marik, the Free Worlds League's Tempest TMP-3N, and we will be painting it in House Marik colors, namely the Marik Militia. Let's get painting. Alright. So, our first color we're going to use is a Concord Grape that I've got from Apple Barrel, 50 cents from Walmart. I have actually thinned the paint just a little bit. It's probably going to get just as good coverage while making the paint last a little longer. Well, maybe not as good as I hoped, but it should still be okay. I'll probably go over it a second time. Some of these paints, they do come thin, and some of them they just don't. The Tempest. They started producing this in 3055, so this is well after the Succession Wars. In fact, a few years after the beginning of the clan invasion. It is from the Free Worlds League, and it has a potent, if eclectic, mix of weaponry. It is 65 tons, I think I mentioned that. Has a top speed of 64.8 kph. Actually does carry jump jets with an XL engine. Its primary armament consists of a Gauss rifle and a large pulse laser. One weapon in each arm. Gauss rifle, I think, is on this side here. It also carries 3 medium lasers and an SRM-6 with enough double heat sinks to keep everything in check. It has good armor, and I'm sure if a mercenary got a hold of this thing, they'd be very happy with it.
Fire for days.
Not really. I think the Gauss rifle's only got like 2 tons of ammunition.
I was more referring to those heat sinks.
Oh, yeah.
And how it might actually be kind of difficult to overheat in this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would have to constantly use your jump jets and and fire everything to even put such a heat burden on it. Double heat sinks are overpowered. But then again, they can use every edge they can get against the clan assault. But then again, the Free Worlds League did not see the clan invasion firsthand. Coverage is not that great. I probably should not have thinned that paint after all. It is the first time I used this specific color, and it is different from color to color. I guess you get what you pay for, right?
I guess you could say these Apple Barrel paints are a mixed barrel.
Boo. Nah, I generally have good luck with them. Maybe I just shouldn't have thinned it. Anyway, this will probably be good enough. I'll let it dry. Until then, I have another Marik Classic, although everybody still seems to have them, and it's a Trebuchet. So I'll be painting that on the side. When I let it partially dry, I added another coat of purple so it can cover up a little better. Looks like it paid off. Now it's time to wash. I used a black mixed with the same Concord purple because I failed to get a darker color earlier. So we're going to cover that all over the miniature. Make everything stand out and stuff, as you already know if you've been watching the videos. In fact, this is a little dark for me, but I've already committed. Free Worlds League. Freedom Chickens, as they're sometimes called by most of the other houses, or at least their players. they're not often at war with the other houses because most of the time they're at war with themselves. Civil wars happen kind of frequently over there. In fact, it actually leads to their they actually dissolve after the before the Dark Ages actually happen, or something. No, I think it was a little bit after that, but it dissolved into chaos, and it's just, yeah, civil war is just kind of their thing. We'll talk more about it here after this dries. Now that we have taken quite a bit of time to let our mechs dry, it is time to dry brush. I have a lavender color. Yes, lavender. For Lavender Industries. But for real, it is a slightly darker color than I expected, so it will actually do just fine here. We dry brush with the lavender. Now, the Tempest doesn't come with a lot of details compared to most of the successor states. Well, Succession Wars era battle mechs. Probably because of the artists they hired at the time. It wasn't Dwayne Luce. So, they don't look the greatest. I'm brightening up that mech nice.
This is why you dry brush, folks, for depth purposes.
Mm-hmm. Our panels are raising up, just as they should. So I said that they're usually at war with each other, the Free Worlds League. Well, they also happen to have some of the best technology in the Inner Sphere, barring Comstar and the Word of Blake, because the Helm Memory Core, when it was discovered in the, I want to say, early 3030s or late 3020s on the planet Helm, it was in their backyard. Even though it was the Grey Death Legion that actually discovered it. So they restored their technology probably the quickest than everybody else, and they also started working on more of their own. They weren't quite to the level of the clans, and just a little shy of Comstar, but they were always on top of things. So, when the clans come, they actually wound up importing a lot of weapons and mechs. They would, of course, save their best for themselves. And the Tempest, I believe, was one of them later on, even though this was started manufacture in 3055. The initial design actually called for a pair of PPCs, but with the advent of all of the technology that became available, they added in a large pulse laser and a Gauss rifle in their place, as well as jump jets. All thanks to an XL engine and an endo steel internal structure. So this thing is loaded for bear, and it is extremely dangerous.
Daka daka.
Not a lot of DACA. The only ballistic weapon on it is a Gauss rifle. But it has a lot of pew.
Pew pew!
So even when the ammunition runs out, it still has plenty of capability to put some hurt on someone, if at a reduced range. So, because of that mix of lethal mix of weapons, I do recommend this mech. It is pretty expensive. I did read the price is somewhere around the north side of 11 million C-bills. That's going to be more than your typical Atlas. But it is definitely going to ruin somebody's day. Any questions? From the cameraman, anyway?
Not particularly. More just, Well, okay, I do have a question. Were there any particularly famous pilots who had this as their mech of choice?
No. Not that I saw. This mech didn't get a ton of popularity, which is kind of a shame. It might be because it was Marik exclusive for so long. But because BattleTech's authors don't really focus on the Free Worlds League very much, you know, they don't get to cover a lot of the people.
And it being a House Marik exclusive, that might explain why there's not exactly a lot of alternative builds with this.
Mm-hmm. There was only a couple. Absolutely none of them were around the same time frame. They all came a bit later, usually in the 3070s or so.
Okay.
So, no, there was no major variance when this came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much this mech. Of course, how can you tamper with success? Getting the old turf everywhere as I'm trying to get the feet.
It's alright, you're going to returf it soon anyway.
Yes, I will. But it is getting in my brush. And it sometimes gets back on the mech somewhere I don't want it.
I don't know. Yeah, if that happens, you could say it fell down and got a grass stain. Battle damage.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kind of going over it several times here, just making sure I got it nice and brightened up. You were going to say something?
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well. Looking good.
Yeah, it's brightening up really nice now. The wash I made was a little on the dark side. I did use a bit too much black. That black I've got is very potent.
Yeah, even I was kind of thinking when you first did the wash on it, I thought that's too dark looking, but at the same time I'm not going to say anything because he's the artist here, and you turned it around. You really did. It looks amazing.
Yeah, I'm at least trying to.
And succeeding.
Yeah. Still, lesson is learned because everything is popping out a bit too much for my liking. You do need a bit more of a softer mix of colors. Because the lavender I am using is only a little bit darker than the Concord Grape that I used as my base coat. And that's also why I'm going over it like crazy with the dry brush. Just making sure the mech is visible again. Because I already have a very dark series of mechs for the Liao Death Commandos. Kind of don't want to do that again. I think we're looking good now.
Yes.
Maybe brighten up the upper chest a little bit. And then we will be good to go on the Tempest. After that, we will work on detailing. The Marik Militia actually does use some striping of their own. It's going to be red on the right side to remember. Remember that the first letter matches. And blue on the left side.
Is there any particular reason they use those colors?
I don't know. Distinctive. Definitely distinctive.
Yes. Because you don't see a lot of purple mechs walking around.
No.
Not that it looks bad, just You don't
This is a nice royal shade of purple, though.
Yes.
So it's not exactly humiliating to look at, especially when you put some red and blue on there.
Not by a long shot.
It is different, but it doesn't feel wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we will cut for now as I work on the trebuchet right next door. With dry brushing complete on both mechs, it is time to work on the striping. I'm going to use a regular red. I've got a detail brush here. Looks like a 0. Bright red. And I'm going to do some nice vertical stripe. One single vertical stripe. One nice red vertical stripe across the right side of down the right side of the mech.
There you go.
To actually put it on as thick as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's nice and visible.
So you've told us quite a bit about the mech. What about House Marik?
They're kind of... There just isn't a whole lot I know about them, because our dear fiction writers have not really told many House Marik stories. They've mostly focused on everybody else. From the Word of Blake to Comstar to, of course, House Davian and Steiner. And there's even been quite a few books on House Karita. And of course there are some of the clans too. Most of the novel writers seem to want to focus on Clan Wolf. Some Jade Falcon. Not a lot of love for Ghost Bear. And the Smoke Jaguars, well, they did get a couple of books and then got promptly snuffed.
Yeah, so Marik kind of gets shuffled to the back burner a little bit.
Pretty much. They only really get mentioned in source books, and just not a lot of novelization. And when it does, they wind up being second fiddle to somebody else. One big example I can think of is actually the Compelled Solution books, which actually take place a little bit after the clan invasion in the early 3060s, where they mostly focus on the Capellan Confederation and the St. Ives Compact, which had formed up briefly.
Sounds like House Marik is very open-ended for fan interpretation.
Oh yes. And in fact, that is very much taken advantage of in Hyper RPGs, Death from Above, where they do all kinds of meddling in the periphery, messing with the magistracy of Canopus. Even they got about as much airtime as House Marik did. I'm probably not going to worry about the back of the leg. I think the front is going to be good enough in this case.
Yep. It's definitely starting to look very distinctive now, as if it didn't before. But, I mean, it's really starting to look nice and distinctive now in the best possible way.
With the red painted on now, it's time for the blue. We're just going to use regular old blue. True blue. This paint from Americana. The cheapest one available at Hobby Lobby. Because I think I was more worried about getting some actual colors than getting high quality paints, but these have just been serving me well.
Sometimes it works out that way, kind of like me and batteries. I have bought some of the most expensive batteries for some of my stuff, and it's like, they never last. And then I buy the cheap batteries, and it's like, how?
Yeah.
The cheap batteries just last longer, and I'm not sure how that works.
You never know with some of those Revx. They can be some of the best batteries. I've also had good luck with Duracells. Even though that's actually one of the more expensive brands.
Yeah, I remember I actually got a pack of AC Delcos very cheap at Big Lots once.
That's a decent brand.
Well, I mean, AC Delco, they make car batteries too.
This is true. So they know what they're doing.
Darn straight. Never buy Sunbeam brand batteries, so.
I took it you had some explode.
No, every time I buy them, they never work. And well, if they do work, they work for about 10 minutes.
Yikes.
And then even if you don't use the device, they go dead just sitting in the device. It's like, no. Never buy Sunbeam.
Well, this went off on an interesting tangent, but that's alright.
Sorry.
I kind of ran out of stuff to talk about. Oh, I screwed that up. Gonna have to rotate the mech a bit. Yeah, this is a big blue spot right where I don't want it.
It's all good.
Yep, I'm going to take some Concord grape and actually patch up what I screwed up here, as I am covering more of the shoulder than I want to here. Tempest is practically a natural for applying the Marik Militia colors. I wonder why.
You would almost think that it was fitted to it.
Because it's a Marik mech. Oh.
Hashtag sarcasm.
Got to take a little bit of the Concord grape since it has dried on me. Just a small dab and start patching up some of the stuff I screwed up here.
There we go. Good as new. Looking sweet.
Before I start working on other details, I'm going to go ahead and treat the same to the trebuchet. We'll be right back. And we're back. I have completed all of the detailing for the trebuchet ahead of time, mostly to test out some things. You may notice I have decided on an orange canopy, kind of like what MechWarrior Online has, and it actually has turned out very well. That was primarily why I went ahead for this mech. And I also have a glossy light gray that I used for our shiny mech bits, like on the chest here and on the gun barrels. So we're going to do some of the same stuff on the Tempest. I will start with the glossy stuff. Starting with the Gauss rifle. round as the mech looks. You know, nice and not necessarily portly, but it has lots of rounded edges. And it's like the one thing that isn't is the Gauss rifle right here. Probably indicative of when they changed the design from dual PPCs to Gauss rifle and large pulse laser. So they had to improvise. Sort of. They had lots of time to do it. I guess it's just a bigger indication of hey, check out this big gun. Because it's not exactly like we get a lot of time to talk about Gauss rifles now, especially since I had been, up until this point, focusing on the Succession Wars, and there was the Supernova, but it still just used lasers. And almost every mech has lasers, to some degree or another. Gonna wrap around the ending barrel of the large pulse laser here. I touched the paper.
The way the stripes wrap around it almost looks like some type of a samurai garb.
Kind of, except the, oh, there's something I can tell you about House Marik. No Japanese to speak of. They all pretty much moved down to the Draconis Combine. No, House Marik is actually dominated mostly by Russian and Serbian folks. This is despite the fact that they have more old school American freedoms. And by old school, I mean we're talking 18th, 19th century here, without the racism. But their dominant language was still English, despite the fact that it is a dominantly Russian, Serbian, basically Eastern Europe type area. Go figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hence, freedom chickens. Still don't understand the chicken part, because all these guys know is war. I guess because of the eagle thing? I don't know. I know if you stirred the hornet's nest, because they generally do keep to themselves, they do lash out. Alright, now for a bit of black that I've already got on my palette.
I don't know, chickens can be pretty mean.
This is true, it's just not common knowledge. Going to work on the edge of that gun barrel there, the medium laser that's in the head. Oh, I forgot about the SRM rack on the side there. That's going to need some love with the light gray there. Oh, I went over a little bit there. I can fix it. Yeah, you've heard it before. I can fix it. And I went a little over there too. But need to use the gray anyway.
Yep.
Probably won't go over it with the two chest-mounted lasers. Won't bother. If it weren't for the XL engine on this thing, it could probably zombie really, really well. Because all of the medium lasers are in the stick locations.
Zombie.
Mm-hmm. But because it does have an XL engine, once you knock a side torso out, it's done. Granted, it can be repaired, but it's still out of the fight. I'll put a little over here, why not? And it does have jump jets. They were mounted in the legs. So don't put this thing in water if you're planning to jump out. I'll go ahead and fill in the bores here where the medium lasers are with black.
So in other words, be cautious if you're on the River City map.
Yeah, it ain't jumping out.
No. No, I think an Atlas might have an easier time getting out.
No, it'd have just as hard of a time.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it just doesn't have jump jets. Yeah, the jump jets are back here. Because it's rounded in the armor, I'm not going to bother with the glossy gray here. I'm just going to do the black. And now to start working on the cockpit. I have a new color, Ripe Tomato, which is kind of a dark orange, almost red. I'm going to use it as my dark cockpit color. Kind of went over the sides there, but that's alright. We'll just cover it up with the Concord grape again. I have already mixed my old Tiger Lily orange from Times of the Arctic Avengers with that Ripe Tomato for an in-between shade.
Yep, looks like a miter.
And shade that in, but not all the way across what we just painted. That'd be silly.
And just gradually lighten it.
Mm-hmm. We now move on to the regular Tiger Lily. This is kind of a small space to work, so thank goodness for this brush. It is new. Again, a smaller space, just as my cameraman just said. Now an in-between, between the Tiger Lily orange and the white, we have an even smaller space. And then we go with the white, where it's nice and speckled, just like it is on the Trebuchet right now, and soon to be on the Tempest. Like so. Now I need to patch it up a little bit. We'll be right back. With our patch job complete and our detailing dry enough, it's time to work on the bases. We are almost done. Going to do the same thing we've been doing before, because it works. It is consistent with the rest of the mechs that I have been painting, as well as many of the mechs all of the mechs I've been painting on the side.
Turf it.
Time to turf it, and with the same colors. Now, there are obviously better ways to do it. Maybe not necessarily easier, but some that may look better. But they just take way too much time, and I do not have the apartment space to actually do that, nor do I have the resources. But trust me, I would if I could. That was a hair in there. Huh. With their base painted green. Well, the top of the base painted green, we are now adding on the turf.
Turf you, buddy.
I will mow you down.
That should not have been as funny as it was, but it was.
Mow, grass, get it, get it.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody else does too, and is probably rolling their eyes. I don't blame you, I did too. Still, I'll be here all day on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Forever. Or until YouTube closes.
Oh, yeah. Yep, until then, there are plenty of other videos that we have up on the channel with lots of sexy mechs and horrible puns.
Well, not as many mechs, as there are a lot more Let's Plays from our excellent cameraman here. I'm only featured in one of them. That's fine. But if our channel is still up by the time a certain game that has popped up recently, not out yet, just has been announced, if the channel is still up, you can bet I'm going to do a Let's Play of that. A blind one, no less.
MechWarrior 5.
MechWarrior 5. I'm not the biggest fan of MechWarrior Online. I was definitely a part of the closed beta, enjoyed it a lot then. It's a little different now, not quite to my taste, but it's still good. Good, not great. But yes, I am looking forward to MechWarrior 5. Oh gods, yes. With the Tempest done, we are now going to work on the Trebuchet. The green really contrasts with the purple in a nice way.
Mm-hmm. I concur. Turpin.
It's not staying on there. There we go. Think
you might need to spray a little water on it?
That's what I'm thinking. I haven't had to do that in the last few mechs, but this might be the first time I've had to in a long while. Sometimes it just doesn't stick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes it helps to wet it to kind of make it stick.
Yeah, that's actually why I painted the base green and then applied turf immediately. And also trying to get a little bit of separation for the feet, so it doesn't look like it's kind of wading through something. Instead it's just stomping across it. These are heavy, heavy mechs after all. Probably do that with the Tempest too. Mm-hmm. Knock some loose.
Eradicate the excess.
Yes. And there you have it. I will paint the bases gray here. We'll take some pictures. But I will do that off camera. I hope you enjoyed this informative painting video. I hope you have learned some lessons from my mistakes. I'll see you next time, Mech Warriors.